Hey guys, we now have even more numbers from the midterms that have come out, and we have a better picture of how the Senate and House elections are going, and the odds that Democrats maintain control of the House continue to go up, while they have a 97% chance right now at retaining control in the upper chamber, that being the Senate. So looking at the most recent results, we have Mark Kelly wins his Senate race in Arizona, winning his first full 6-year term. That's a major victory for him, and it could potentially pull Katie Hobbs ahead of Kari Lake in the end. Katie Hobbs' chances now at winning the governorship in Arizona are higher than they have ever been. Kari Lake could very realistically lose her race to succeed Doug Ducey, and we also have some more projections for the House races, so we do have a clearer map, at least with the projections that the major news sources have made. So this is the New York Times map here: 211 for Republicans, 201 for Democrats. But when looking at many of these races, it is very likely that one party is going to win. In Maine, Jared Golden is probably going to win his re-election, and in the 22nd district of New York, Brandon Williams is likely to be the winner. Colorado's races are pretty much called as well. This 8th district, Kirk Mayer has already conceded defeat, so it's very likely that Caraveo is going to win this seat. And then in the 3rd district of Colorado, Lauren Boebert is probably going to squeak by with a very, very narrow margin of victory. Alaska is going to go to Mary Peltola. Just look at those first round votes. We have the final round of ranked choice voting left, but in that round, Mary Peltola is very likely to gain a significant chunk of the votes that went to Begich. Sarah Palin is not going to win that race. So when looking at the elections that are likely to go to one way, having them filled in, this is the map that we have: 213 for both parties. That is just how close the battle for the House of Representatives is right now. I have filled in one of the districts in Oregon, this being the 6th district, and this is a district that Joe Biden won by almost a solid margin in 2020, so it's very likely the Democrats are going to hold on to the 6th district. But we do have 2 races, one in Oregon, one in Washington, a lot of races in California, and then one in Arizona, and these elections are going to be the ones that decide which party ultimately takes home the majority in the House. So we're going to start off with the 2 races in Washington and Oregon. In Washington right now, we have the 3rd district that is still undecided. This is a district that Trump won by 4.5%, and it should be a district that Republicans win in a cycle like this. However, they ran a horrible nominee, that being Joe Kent. Joe Kent defeated the incumbent who actually voted to impeach Donald Trump, one of the 10 House members that voted to impeach Trump on the Republican side of the aisle, and so they lost their re-election and their renomination of the Republican Party to run in this district, and Joe Kent came out on top, and so he is going to run against Marie Perez, and currently Kent is behind, and losing this district would be a huge loss for Republicans. But looking at how other election deniers have done, it is very unlikely that Kent is going to win. Just look at Lauren Boebert in Colorado, in a district that voted for Trump by almost a double-digit margin, and Boebert is the incumbent. So at this point in time, I'm going to categorize this final district in Washington as being lean Democratic. It could still go both ways, but right now it is looking good for Democrats heading into the election. The election in Oregon, though, this final one remaining in the 5th district, this one really is going to be very, very close. Currently, Republicans have a 2-point lead, but when looking at this district, Biden did win it ultimately by 9 points, and the ballots remaining are going to favor Democrats more than Republicans, as most of the votes in Oregon that we've seen recently have been. So looking at the 5th district, currently I'm not going to project it. I'm going to leave it as being a pure toss-up because it really could go both ways, and it's going to be added into the column of districts that are ultimately going to decide which party wins. It's going to be one of the 2 or 3 districts that I'm going to leave blank at the very end. Now looking at the race in Arizona, this one I'm also probably going to leave blank just because of how close it is. Currently, Democrats do have a 2-point lead, I believe here, almost a 2-point lead. Jevin Hodge is up by 1.4% against the Republican incumbent. However, this is a district that Biden won by 1.5%. Now, typically, this would signal that Republicans are going to win because it is 2022. It's supposed to be a better year for Republicans. However, Mark Kelly is doing better than Joe Biden in Arizona he's probably going to win by over 5 points in the end. And so with that, Democrats are probably going to do better statewide as well. We're seeing Katie Hobbs outperform expectations significantly in her race against Kari Lake. So it's not at all impossible that Democrats flip this district, but right now it simply is too close to call. So we have 2 districts that we've left blank so far. Now we also have a close race in the 3rd district of California. So we're now going to move on to the Golden State. This is where most of the remaining races are. We have 6 races that are still likely to go either way in California. So starting off with the 3rd district, Kevin Kiley is running to represent this area of California, the entire eastern region on the border of Nevada. And Kevin Kiley is the former mayor of San Diego, so he is a pretty established figure. Also ran in the 2021 runoff where Gavin Newsom was able to defeat a runoff, but he was one of the Republican candidates in the field. I believe he came in 3rd after the Democrat and after Larry Elder as well. But in the 3rd district, Trump won the area by 1.9% in 2020, and so currently it is more likely than not that Kevin Kiley is going to win his first 2-year term in Congress. However, Democrats are favored in some districts in California as well, namely the 13th district that Biden won by 11.4%. So we're going to give this district right now to Democrats. However, Republicans have a chance in the district right under it. This is the 22nd district where David Valadao is running for re-election. He currently leads by 6 points, but the issue for him is that he ran in a district that Biden won by 13 points. Previously, he was in a much more favorable Biden district or a more favorable Trump district, and so it will be difficult for Valadao to win his re-election this time around, but it's not at all impossible, because if you look south even more, we have the 27th district. This is Mike Garcia's district. This district voted for Biden by 13 points, and he is still favored to win his re-election. He ran in the Biden plus 11 district in 2020 and still won by a pretty wide margin. So this year in California 27, Mike Garcia is still likely to win his re-election. He's a pretty moderate Republican, and so the district is going to be lean Republican, at least for now. So we have 5 races remaining. Looking at the 2 in the Los Angeles area, we have 2 Republican incumbents running for re-election in both of these districts. One of them is Michelle Steele. She is more likely than not to win her re-election in the 45th district. Currently with 2/3 of the votes in, Steele has an 8-point lead. So I'm going to give this district to Republicans for now, even though it does favor Joe Biden by 6.3%. Steele, though, is likely to win re-election by a very, very narrow margin. And so this will give Republicans 216. Democrats are still at 215. And then in the final district, the 41st district, we have 6 and 10 votes in. Ken Calvert, the incumbent, does lead. However, this district voted for Joe Biden by a margin of, or actually for Donald Trump by a margin of 1%. But we still have a lot of mail-in ballots that are likely to favor Democrats still coming in. So when looking at the map, we have 4 districts remaining. In my opinion, these are going to be the districts that are going to decide which party controls the House. Republicans only need to win 2 of them, while Democrats need to win 3. So currently, it is very realistic to see that Democrats win the majority, but also it is possible that Democrats are able to hold on to the narrow control that they currently have. So the race in Oregon could go both ways, but I do think Republicans are ever so slightly favored right now, with them up by 2 points. The numbers are going to improve, but it's really not going to be that significant. It's going to be a very close race, and one of these candidates is going to win by a very, very narrow margin. And then the 2 races in California, they could still go both ways, although I think the Republicans have a better chance in the southern district, while in this district up here, Democrats are a little bit more likely to win, and Democrats also have a very good chance in this Arizona district as well. So overall, 4 races remaining that really could go both ways. I filled in many of the lean and likely districts, and so this is what the House map looks like. It's going to be very, very close for one party or the other, but for Republicans, Kevin McCarthy may not even get the support that he needs from his own caucus to be able to win the speakership. He will be able to win the leadership race in the Republican Party. He will become the leader for Republicans in the House, but whether or not he can get almost every single House member that is in the GOP to vote for him to become speaker is still in doubt. And so we're going to have a very interesting speaker race on both sides. Even if Democrats win, and Nancy Pelosi promised that she would not run again, but she does look like she's in a good position to run because she did run for the House another time. She may not run for the speakership again. She may not run for Democratic leader, but she really did do a good job in terms of beating all the expectations that were set for Democrats. So if Democrats do win the majority, it could still be that Nancy Pelosi remains the majority leader and the Speaker of the House. So not majority leader, but remains Democratic leader, which means she would be Speaker for another 2 years. And now moving on to the Senate, it is less competitive as Democrats are almost guaranteed now to maintain control for another 2 years, with Chuck Schumer continuing to stay in power. And with a 51st vote, they really could remove the filibuster and also pass more legislation, as they only need to get one out of Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin on board to pass legislation with 50 votes, and also the tiebreaker vote from Kamala Harris. So when looking at these two races, they are crucial for Democrats. They really do want to win both of these seats in Georgia and Nevada, and right now it is very, very likely that Catherine Cortez Masto is going to catch up to Adam Laxalt. Her numbers have been going up over the last few days. She was down by 3 points at one point, and even though Democrats lost the governor election with Steve Sisolak losing his second term to Joe Lombardo, the Senate race right now is much more likely to go to Democrats than Republicans. As you can see here, Masto has a 96% chance at winning, and even in Georgia, Democrats are heavily favored. Raphael Warnock with a 75% chance at winning his re-election to a full term, just like Mark Kelly did earlier this week. So in Georgia, it's between Warnock and Walker in a runoff. In the first round, Warnock already won 49.4%, and that was with Brian Kemp carrying Herschel Walker to 48 points. And with Brian Kemp no longer on the ballot, Herschel Walker is by far the least popular Republican that the GOP put up on the ballot statewide, and he is very likely to lose in the December 6th runoff. Raphael Warnock is probably going to win. I mean, Walker is a worse candidate than Kelly Loeffler, David Perdue, so Warnock currently is on track to winning, and so this will give Democrats 51 seats. That is my current projection. I mean, Republicans really underperforming expectations. They lost both Pennsylvania and Arizona by pretty big margins, even though they were looking pretty good in the very end. And even Nevada and Georgia, the snow is probably going to make a difference in Nevada. That's why the race is so close, because I do believe that if more voters came out without the terrible weather that hit the state of Nevada in the days leading up to the election and then election day as well, it is much more likely that Adam Laxalt is going to come out with a very narrow victory. But in the end, the race is going to be very, very close. But currently, looking at the results that we have, Catherine Cortez Masto is heavily favored to win her re-election to a second full term, even though it's going to be very, very close. Nevada continues to shift to the middle, but currently Democrats look like they still do have some leverage in the state overall. And so now looking at the governor's map, we also have only one race now remaining, so still the map is not complete, but very, very close to being complete, just like the Senate map. Looking at the governor's map, every single race except for the one in Arizona has been called. Nevada has been called for Joe Lombardo, as I said earlier. Steve Sisolak loses his re-election to a full term. But Democrats really did do very, very well in other places across the country. I mean, Oregon, Tina Kotek looked pretty shaky there for quite a while, but she will come out with the win. In Kansas, we have a victory for Laura Kelly, and also incumbent Tony Evers in Wisconsin. Oregon, of course, that was a big win, but in New York, this was another race that Democrats were looking pretty vulnerable in, but Kathy Hochul did manage to win re-election by a 5 to 7 point margin. I don't know what the exact numbers are right now, but it's not going to be a big victory. And if Kathy Hochul was not so unpopular, Democrats would have a much better chance at picking up the House. Just look at the races that they have in New York that they lost. The 22nd district, this is likely to go Republican. The 19th district, Mark Molinaro defeating Josh Riley to win. And in the 17th district, Mike Lawler defeating Sean Patrick Maloney. This is a huge defeat for Democrats and the highest profile House member that lost his re-election on the Democratic side. In the 4th district, I mean, Democrats were supposed to win this one as well. Just look at the New York map after redistricting. We had the 22nd district, Biden plus 7.6, the 19th district, Biden plus 4.7, the 17th district, Biden plus 10.1, and here Sean Patrick Maloney lost his re-election. In the 4th district, Biden plus 14.8. Democrats lost this district. If Kathy Hochul was not so unpopular, Democrats would have won the House, and so she is definitely one of the big losers of the 2022 midterm. She really has dragged down her party. Chuck Schumer didn't do that well either. Of course, the Democratic Party in New York as a whole has not been performing well over the last couple of years. Just look at all the resignations that they've had. But overall, Democrats still had a good night despite Kathy Hochul and her basically effect of tanking Democratic support in her state. But the race in Arizona, though, is still likely to go to Democrats now more than Republicans. This would be a huge victory for Katie Hobbs and the Arizona Democratic Party. Kari Lake is behind by a margin of 1.4%, and with Mark Kelly doing so well, it is now unlikely that she is going to be able to close the gap enough. It's still going to be a very, very close race. Hobbs is probably going to win by less than 1%, but the fact that she's even ahead is a pretty big deal. If Mark Kelly won by 2 points, guaranteed Kari Lake is going to win. Kari Lake did run a better campaign in terms of appealing to the media as well as to her base, and Katie Hobbs honestly did not do that well on the campaign trail. I mean, just from an objective standpoint, her campaign was pretty lackluster. She didn't even debate Kari Lake, which is going to affect her results, but in the end, she might still come out with a victory. Looking at the betting markets, she has a 69% chance at winning, and just look at how significantly her odds have changed over the last few hours. I mean, just yesterday, 22 hours ago, Republicans were favored to win Kari Lake with a 61% chance at winning, and then the odds for Lake dropped all the way down to 32. So currently, it does look like Democrats are going to be able to win 24 governorships, Republicans 26. Keep in mind, Democrats came into these midterms with just 22, and so to get to 24, Democrats flipped Maryland and Massachusetts, and now they're probably going to flip Arizona as well, with Republicans only flipping Nevada. And in a year like this, 2022, it should be almost impossible for Democrats to flip governorships that Republicans currently hold. Maryland and Massachusetts were much more likely, but Democrats holding on to their governors in Wisconsin, Kansas was pretty significant. They only lost one, that being in the Silver State, and it's going to be a very, very close race there. So Democrats overall still did very, very well. They have a good chance at maintaining the House still. That's undecided right now, but it will be very interesting to watch over the next few days. The House Democrats continue to go up. The Senate basically guaranteed a Democratic majority. Just look at the map here, 98-3 in the betting markets, and of course with the governors, Kari Lake's loss is going to be a huge blow to the GOP, and currently things are not looking good. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like it down below if you enjoyed it. Comment down below which party you think is going to win the House, and do you think Kari Lake will lose to Katie Hobbs in Arizona? Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and I will see you guys very, very soon for more updates on the 2022 midterms.